I'll be a window in your home. Those are the last real words a dying man left behind for the young woman looking after him in a London hospital ward in the winter of 1947. He had no family left to speak of, and only a small amount of money. And instead of spending it or leaving it to nobody, he handed it to her with that one sentence attached. Neither of them could have known it yet, but that sentence would take 19 years to come true. And when it finally did, it would change how millions of people around the world are allowed to die. Her name was Cicely Saunders. His name was David Tasma. David was a Polish Jewish refugee from Warsaw, 40 years old, who had escaped occupied Europe before the worst of it caught up with him. By 1947, he was a patient at St. Thomas's Hospital in London, dying of inoperable cancer, with no family nearby and very little money. Cicely, then in her late 20s, was working there as a medical social worker, what the British called an almoner, and David was one of the patients on the very first ward she took over. She had already lived a few different lives by that point. Cicely had studied philosophy, politics and economics at Oxford before the war interrupted everything, then trained as a nurse at the Nightingale School, tending soldiers and civilians through the Blitz years. A bad back eventually forced her out of nursing itself, and she moved into medical social work instead, still looking restlessly for the version of caring for people that actually fit. In David Tasma, dying slowly in a busy hospital ward, she found somebody willing to talk honestly about what dying was actually like, the fear, the pain, the loneliness of it, at a time when doctors and nurses mostly just didn't. Patients in 1947 were routinely told very little about their own prognosis, medicated only once pain became severe, and largely left to face the end of their lives in silence, surrounded by staff who had been trained to treat the disease and had very little left over for the person carrying it. They talked for weeks about his life in Warsaw, about faith, about what it meant to die without pain and without being alone in a bed at the end of a corridor. Whatever was between them, it was real enough that decades later, Cicely would still describe those conversations as some of the most important of her life. And somewhere in all that talking, an idea started to take shape between them, not fully formed yet, barely even a plan, that there had to be a better way to do this. A place built specifically for people who were dying, where pain was actually controlled properly, where somebody sat with you, where the end of a life mattered as much as the rest of it had. David Tasma did not live to see any of that built. Early in 1948, he died, and when he did, he left Cicely Saunders £500, nearly everything he had, along with that one sentence: "I'll be a window in your home." If a dying stranger leaving a young social worker £500 and a single sentence is already the kind of story you didn't expect from a hospital ward in 1947, take a second and hit that like button. It tells me these are the quiet histories worth surfacing. And subscribe, because what Cicely Saunders did with those £500 took 19 years, and it is still saving people from dying in pain today. Stay with me. Cicely didn't build anything right away. Instead, she went back to school. In her 30s, with a hospital career already behind her, she decided that if she was going to build the place David had imagined, she needed to actually understand medicine from the inside. She trained as a doctor, qualifying in 1957 at 39 years old, one of comparatively few women in that position at the time. She spent the years after that studying something almost nobody in mainstream medicine took seriously: how dying people actually experience pain, and how badly most hospitals were managing it. At places like St. Joseph's Hospice, she found nuns quietly giving patients regular, scheduled doses of morphine, not waiting for the pain to become unbearable and then reacting, but staying ahead of it, keeping it controlled continuously. It sounds almost obvious now. At the time, it was close to radical. Saunders built on it, developing the idea that dying patients suffer what she called total pain. Physical, yes, but also emotional, social, and spiritual. All of it needing to be treated together, not just masked with a single injection when someone finally screamed. 19 years after David Tasma died, in 1967, Cicely Saunders finally opened St. Christopher's Hospice in London. It was the first hospice in the world built specifically around this new, deliberate approach to dying. Proper pain control, honesty with patients about what was happening to them, and space for the emotional and spiritual weight of death, not just the physical mechanics of it. It combined round-the-clock clinical care with research and teaching under one roof, something no institution focused purely on dying patients had really attempted before. It became the template. Nearly every modern hospice and palliative care program on Earth, in one way or another, traces its lineage back to what opened that year. And inside St. Christopher's, there is a window. It was funded, in part, with the £500 David Tasma left behind 2 decades earlier. His promise, kept exactly as he'd put it, if 2 decades late. Cicely Saunders went on to be made a dame of the British Empire, recognized around the world as the founder of the modern hospice movement, credited with fundamentally changing how medicine treats the last chapter of a person's life. She kept working, writing, and teaching on the subject for decades afterward, training doctors and nurses from dozens of countries who came to St. Christopher's specifically to learn a model of care that, in 1947, had not existed anywhere at all. David Tasma never got to see any of it. He never got a title, a knighthood, or his name on the building. He got a window and a sentence that turned out to be true 19 years later than either of them could have guessed. Somewhere behind that glass, in a building full of people being allowed finally to die without unnecessary pain, a Polish refugee who died with almost nothing is still keeping the promise he made in a hospital ward in the winter of 1947. If you want more stories like this one, real, forgotten, hidden in the details the official version leaves out, watch the video already coming up on your screen right now. Here on It Sounds Like Fiction, but it's history, there's always one more secret waiting.